Hey there, this is Pod and Deliver. And you know what? I'm really excited this evening. Well, I know we both are. This evening we have Vincent Cervantes the third, not the second, but the third. And you know what? We're just so excited to have you today. Welcome, Vinny.
Thank you very much, Ruben and Jake. I appreciate it. You having me on your podcast. I'm pretty excited to talk to you guys about teaching.
Yes, teaching. And you know what? I met you about, how long has it been? About 4 or 5 years now? I'm just about 4 years?
Like that.
Yeah, and I know I met your, actually it's weird, a small world. Your girlfriend I worked with back at Disneyland, 1988. So wow. It's a crazy, I don't think I even share that with Ruben. And so we, so you know, it's true. It's a small world. And I actually had her daughter in one of my classes about 7-8 years ago.
You know what? If she was never in your class, we don't meet.
I don't think so, huh? Because we got connected after that. And I think you did some observing in my class before you did student teaching.
I did do a little bit, but I needed a mentor teacher for my second round of student teaching.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to talk about the student teaching.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but before we get there, you know, let our audience know a little bit about yourself regarding what made you want to go into teaching. I think teaching is not your first career; it's like your second, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I was like a blue collar worker for a long time in the grocery business, you know, stocking shelves, whatnot. I sustained a pretty bad injury while I was at Sealy Mattress, shoulder injury. Had me on workers' comp for about 2.5 years. It was really, really bad. I'm right-handed. I literally couldn't use my right hand for brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, picking something up. I mean, the pain was just bad. Sitting, standing, anywhere. 15 minutes later, this whole thing would turn on. So it was bad. Got surgery a year and a half into it, then another year of recovery. And I realized I'm going to have to do something with my brain, right? This is the bronze thing, the blue collar thing was done. So I started studying and researching history. I kind of like the natural organic flow of things is like follow my passion. What's my passion? Because then I really didn't know what I was going to do. Giant question mark in my life, right? It caused a marriage to erode there at the end. So, I mean, literally, she was gone. And I was like, okay, well, what's going to happen? What am I going to do? So started studying, doing a lot of research for about the final year. If I get into that, it's kind of so mind-blowing. I'll try not to talk too much about it.
No, that's important.
But I did a lot of reading, a lot of watching, a lot of studying, note-taking, dictionary research, study different topics. I mean, it was 12 to 14 hours a day. I was I was an animal, like thirsty for knowledge.
So you were doing research on history in order to teach?
Well, at the time, I wasn't sure I was going to teach yet, right? Okay. But the natural progression as my calling kind of came to me was as a history. I'm following my passion of history. So like how, you know, going down the road, and then so at the end of the road there, I'm like, okay, well, seems logical. I'm going to teach.
Yeah.
Right. I love the whole concept. Going back all the way to the ancient guys, right?
Yeah.
My specialty is ancient history. At UCLA, I took courses like religion in ancient Israel, religion in ancient Iran, ancient Near East religions, ancient Mediterranean, ancient Armenia, you know, on and on. Roman religion. I mean, you name it. And I targeted those courses. But before I did that, in my personal research, I was reading the Tao Te Ching, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Bible. All these different sacred texts. So I had a familiarity going into these courses with Zoroastrianism and Judaism, Christianity, early Christian class. Some of my teachers at UCLA were like the ones you see on the History Channel all the time. I had a couple of those guys. Yeah. So it was a fun experience at UCLA.
So you went to UCLA, and this is after your job, right? That was a manual work job, correct?
Correct. So I finally, what happened was in the end there with the workman's comp.
Yeah.
It was really strange. So the lawyer tells me, okay, well, you're cleared and you're ready to go. You're back in the system. And I go, well, what if I injure my shoulder again? He's like, will you file another claim? And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You absolutely have to be kidding me. 2.5 years of this. And if that's all that's going to happen if I get injured, I just file another claim. I made up my mind there, no matter what, I was never going to file another claim. The whole thing was a bad experience.
Sure.
I know a lot of people think that the system is, you know, taken advantage of and people are not really injured and what have you. I was really injured.
Yeah.
I hated it, and I would never ever want to go back and do that again.
Right.
So right at the end of it was going into the summer 2016, I believe, and that's when I started school at Cerritos. And then I was there for 3 years because the last year I took a few extra English lit courses, so I could get my minor at UCLA. So I got a BA and a minor in English lit, BA in history and a minor in English lit at UCLA. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. And then and then that's when you decided, hey, I'm going to go into get a teaching credential.
Right, and so just like I was following I incorporated the philosophy of the stuff I was reading. I really, it again, is a natural progression, very organic. And, I understood the whole idea of the master teacher and the adept, right, in the mystery schools. And I looked at all of that stuff too. I've read the Nag Hammadi library. I've read a Gnostic text. So I've read a lot of that stuff. And so I identify with the teacher and the adept, right? And what's interesting is the secret is that as the teacher, like the master, you're never a master, right? You're always learning. You're a lifelong learner. Yeah. So that's what's exciting and fun for me is learning. When you talk about teaching, it's learning for me. I had a great time at UCLA learning.
The path I guess people can take are they could get their credential in secondary or special ed or multiple subject, right? And then decide what they're going to teach. But another path is you fall in love with the subject.
That's exactly what happened.
Which is what you took, which I would prescribe too, because if you know nothing about, if you've never stepped foot in a credential class, but you love your topic, your subject, that's the most important thing. The other things you can learn.
I was asked about that because, I could have well, if you're going to be a teacher, why aren't you, doing this on the side here? But, I was at UCLA and I was going to take full advantage. Yeah. There was a few courses I didn't get to take, like on Babylon and a few other interesting things because they were downsizing at the time. Wow. So when I got to the Cal State Long Beach credential program, I had to take two full semesters of coursework for the geography, for the economics. I had to do all those courses there. Yeah, so that extended the process for another 2 years because literally that was 4 courses a semester, full time. So it took a little more time that way, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I didn't try to take any tests to test out or anything like that. I did all the coursework.
You're pretty well-rounded. I know a lot of history teachers, and I don't think half of them have taken as many coursework as courses you have, including myself. And I took quite a bit, but not what you're sharing right now regarding going back to even Cal State Long Beach. Now at Cal State Long Beach, when you were getting your credential, well, how was that experience? Because right now a lot of people are going to be watching this video, Vince, and they're going to be saying, hey, you know what? Is this something I really want to get into? I really want to get into this a program like this right now. How about yourself? Was it a difficult process? What would you say about that?
It was somewhat difficult in the sense that I had my mind made up that I was going to teach 6th grade ancient history, right? That was my thing. Okay. And so when my first student teaching gig, I had a secondary mentor teacher. My main mentor teacher, she was utterly fantastic, professional. She had a plan for me, right? My secondary teacher had no plan, no anything. So when I met her the first day, she's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Do you want me to start teaching or do you want to teach first? And I was like, well, I'm not going to say I don't want to teach first, right? So I kind of jumped, okay, I'll start off teaching. And that wasn't the way it was set up with the other teacher, right? She was going to kind of work me in. So, but I being the new person, I wanted to jump into it and I wasn't going to say no. Right. And the experience, this teacher, for any teachers out there, it was a nightmare. This lady, by the time it was back to school night, it was that Friday, she had attacked me personally and ripped me at the end of school that day. I walked over to my mentor teacher and I said, she just finished telling me this, and this. It was really bad. And she's like, we even made a plan where I was going to, just in case I was going to get out of her and just, do a couple little switch up here. Sure. But we decided to stick with it. And it was bad news because at that point, I think she was very disgruntled. She had done some kind of course on administration during that summer and she wasn't chosen to do it. So she went through the course and then wasn't selected.
Wow.
So she had talked about it a lot. Oh, I don't want to, I don't want to be here. I'm just, disgruntled and blah blah blah. And wow, she literally undermined me. She was undermining me during this whole time, and it just turned out being a bad experience. And so my university master teacher, thank goodness for her, right? Very professional and very wonderful lady. And she just about a couple of weeks before the semester was going to end, she's like, you know what, just get out of the class, just because they weren't gonna pass me.
But you sort of dodged a bullet, right? Because you got your credential before the pandemic.
Yes. Yeah.
So in a way, it worked out.
The timing was yes, but the issue was, so after that semester ended, the master university teacher, she wrongfully thought that, and she told me that, well, we could get you in and you could, by the next semester you could be done. But that unfortunately wasn't the case. I was going to have to start over in the next fall again, and then do another 40 hours of observations, and then turn in a unit design project. So and I had to petition to do that. Okay. Jeez. So it was take another whole year before I got my second gig, and that's when I reached out to you. And another thing, two things. If you're a student teacher and you think you're going to have some kind of issue with a teacher, you should address it right away and see if you can't, get out of there if need be. Your university teacher is going to be the one that's going to help you out with that.
I would say that most teachers, don't you think, and maybe you've only had a couple experiences though, I would think that most teachers who want to work with the student teacher really want to do it. I think your situation seems like this woman probably just didn't want to do it, and she was. It was
an oddball thing because in Long Beach Unified, the whole district is filled with history teachers from Cal State Long Beach program.
Oh wow!
So they network. So you base all the observations I did. All those teachers, they all went to the Cal State Long Beach program.
Okay.
So I just happened to get this one teacher, the wrong teacher at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And then one more issue was for the second go around, they kind of left it up to me to find a teacher.
Oh wow.
And that's what I'm like, you guys aren't going to help me get another teacher? So and I thought about it, and that's when I reached out to you, because I literally, I think you recall how I approached you and everything, and I was really nervous, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, Jake, you want to be
So how does this work? You two are co-teaching right now, or what does this look like?
Oh, at the present, or at back in the time?
Back when you guys were doing it.
Well, he approached me like you shared, right?
Know what I mean?
Yeah. So when we started, I know what you're saying, Ruben. So when we started, Jake kind of started off teaching, and then I would come in a little bit. So we were sort of not even quite co-teaching, but not even the first couple of weeks was Jake, and then for another couple of weeks it was both of us, and then Jake let me go probably a month into it. So something like that.
I've done that kind of thing, and it could be magic, or it could be the worst.
Yeah.
Did you guys find some kind of rhythm, some kind of way? Because it could really be a nice partnership, a dance in a way, right?
Yeah. I'll let you explain it, Vince, how we work. But yeah,
I must say that Jake was fantastic. He was more of a hands off, and it kind of let me learn on my own. And he was the overall giving me that direction. And so that's probably, I think that's the way I needed to go. And it was a completely different experience and a better experience. What the key was, I grew up in Southgate, right? And I was living over in Lakewood at the time. So I knew the layout, I knew the geography. So
can I say orale just for a little.
Yes.
There you go.
Absolutely. So I used it to my advantage, and the hook was getting the students. They were 11th grade honor students, and I gave them my pitch, and almost all of them bought on board. From the get-go.
What do you mean your pitch? That's interesting.
So I kind of broke it down okay, I explained my whole student teaching thing and what was going on. And so this was the experience that we're going to share. And I told them that I would take your input with it. And as we would go by, I would try to get your input, because I'm new at this, you're new at this. So I'm going to learn from you as much as you're going to learn from me. Right. It was a two-way street. And I let them know that I'm not some teacher up here at the top of the class and you guys are down here. We're on an even level, and I'm going to learn as much from you guys as you're going to learn from me. And then I gave him my the history pitch, right, which was history is not just ancient history, and it's your personal history and your family history And so all these things, matter. And I had sent home like the first day an exit slip, and, telling me like, what do you like about history the most? And the responses I got back was interesting. And one of them, as a matter of fact, was like, I hate history. I don't even understand why we have to study dead people. That was, I forget the young gentleman's name, Jake, who had the pregnant girlfriend at the time.
Oh my God!
Don't dox him, Jake.
No,
just give initials.
Yeah, no, I haven't thought of that kid since then. Oh my goodness, yes.
So I told them, I go, look, most of them said, well, I like how the past informs the present, right? So I said, okay, well, let's take that a step further. It's not just how the past informs the present, but it's how the present is going to inform the future, and not just from a big frame up here, but in your life, right? From you when you're going into school, and when you're going to move on to college, and as you grow up and have a family and what have you. So your personal history is going to be affected by the history that's affected around you. And it was kind of like a macrocosm, microcosm type of thing. Like, here's your community of Southgate, then you got your state, then you got your country. Right. And so they really came in on the understanding of like the reaching the personal history, and how that, I explained it to them that you're going to matter.
Yeah.
And what's happening going to happen in your community is going to matter. What's going to happen in your state is going to matter, and it's going to be up to your generation and your class as you move forward in your schooling or in your professional life. And so they really came on with it. They loved they bought in, and they loved the fact that I was going to use them to help me with homework, and I was going to take their input on everything.
But isn't it interesting though, Vince? You were a little nervous. Do you remember why you were a little nervous at the beginning? Well, I'm sure you're nervous for a lot of reasons, but one was you knew it was a U.S. history class. You are like an expert in ancient history, and all of a sudden you're looking at me like, "Oh, it's U.S. history." I go, "Yeah," and you're like, "Okay." And wow, you got in there, boy. You got in it.
But the most fascinating about that thing, Jake, and I'm sure you'll agree, is it was election season.
Oh, that's right.
So we had this going on simultaneously, and I was really able to incorporate that into a couple of lesson plans and what have you, and even a really good discussion on the day that all the students like walked out of Southgate High School, led by the principal, if I remember correctly, right, Jake?
Oh, yeah, I know there were administrators who were involved.
And just for clarification, you're talking about the 2016 election, correct?
Correct. Yes. I'm sorry, I should have made that clear. Yes, 2016. So there was an exercise I had with like a critical thinking exercise, and I had them listen to a little 10-minute segment of a Trump campaign speech, and then a little 10-minute of Hillary. And what was fantastic was they were a week apart, and what Trump talked about in his little 10 minutes, Hillary addressed in her little 10 minutes, and it was just the perfect little scenario for them. And I said, okay, you guys are journalists, okay, so you're gonna listen to this first little 10 minutes, and then you're gonna write a story about it, like if you're explaining like what they were talking about. And then we did the same thing with the second one. And then to finalize it all, you're going to compare and contrast. And as journalists, right, you're going to report on what you found. What was your analysis of it? And it was great because Hillary was lying her butt off.
Oh boy. We're going to edit that part of this podcast.
And Jake will attest. It was what Trump said about what was that? The line, it was really famous. What do you got to lose? What do you got to lose line.
Let me just say this though, Vinny. That assignment, the prompt you gave and the assignment of journalists, people might take that. If you don't mind, I mean, people are going to steal that. That's a good idea. That was a good lesson.
I've stolen some other stuff from Vinny as well. I think I've shared with you, Vinny, regarding the music piece. He had the kids. Can I share? Actually, Vinny, why don't you share that regarding
okay, so one of my favorite things was I incorporated music into the classroom. So the good thing about rock and roll music is that there's plenty of songs that talk about historical events, and we could talk about Iron Maiden and Alexander the Great. I mean, Iron Maiden has a bunch of historical songs, right? We should have a lot of rock bands.
We can have an episode on Iron Maiden.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Sure. Just on history, absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I always was able to find a couple pieces for whatever period we were studying. A good example would be a Trail of Tears from Cherokee, right? Talking about the Indians on the Trail of Tears. So I used the Radio Gaga when we were doing the 20s and the introduction of the radio and what have you. Mm-hmm. Indians from Anthrax, right? A thrash metal band for the same unit there. So the kids liked the music, and not all of them liked rock music, but a couple of them actually did like rock music. And so I would play the song. I would put the lyrics on the PowerPoint, and then go through the lyrics as the song is going. So they understood the lyrics, right? That was important for me, not just to listen to the song, just to listen to the song, but to understand what the lyrics were saying, because we're in the classroom learning, so the lyrics matter. So the musical aspect of it was really fantastic, and me and Jake really got along. We're like brothers from another mother, basically.
And I think that whole music
which
piece,
makes me and you brothers from another mother.
We're all brothers. We're all brothers in here.
One of the things that you're doing, the reason I promote it, or I agree, is that I could tell you like music.
Just a little bit. Just a bit.
Okay. Well, you're incorporating something that you're passionate about, which is going to only elevate the content and the enthusiasm from you. That electricity is going to come out even more, and the kids are going to feed off that.
Yeah. That's exactly. I even had written that down in my reflection. That's exactly the dynamic that was created, and Jake can attest to how much enthusiasm I brought. And that goes back to the first question about teaching and learning and what have you, right? I just came with it, and another reason was this is what I told the students. I made a deal with them because I was not familiar with the textbook. I said, I'm going to do all the homework that I assigned you guys.
Oh, that's right.
Every bit of homework that I assigned to you guys, I'm going to do it as well. Okay. So nobody's going to have the excuse for not doing any homework. Right. So, right.
I remember
these were the little things that really, brought them on board.
Yeah.
And it turned out being an incredibly amazing experience. And
go ahead.
Really quick, the interesting thing was, like, I did not want to do high school. I was dead set on not. Kids were cynics. They were going to talk back. They didn't want to be there. I had like the worst ideas of them because I was a student and I kind of knew. And so when the middle school thing didn't work out, my university teacher was like, "Why don't you try high school?" I'm like, "Wow." What did I tell them at the end of the semester, Jake? That they changed the course of my life.
Oh yeah, right? I think you felt like this is what I want to do, right?
This experience was so wonderful that they changed my life, the course of my life. So that was a really fantastic thing.
Can I take us down another road for a second? Because I want to go back to music just for a second.
Sure.
Through all this whole pandemic and the whole, you and I have had so many discussions on bands, and I think you've seen hundreds of concerts, and and I know you're a big metals guy and big 70s and 80s, or more 70s, I think, right? Would you say 70s?
Well, I grew up as a child of the 80s.
You were a child of the 80s, 80s. And so all this time we haven't been able to go see a concert, and I know I've been dying. I have a couple tickets I want to go, see a couple bands. But how about yourself? What's that one band that you haven't been able to see and that you're just like, no, when I'm able to, I'm going to go to that concert? What concert would that be?
I don't know if the Rolling Stones will still be doing touring by the time this is all over. I haven't seen the Rolling Stones.
Oh, wow.
Out of the 300 plus concerts, I have not seen the Stones. I had bought the Crue tickets. Remember, they were reuniting for a tour that they were never supposed to play again together. Right, that was it. They were done.
Yeah.
And then they reunited for this tour, and there was controversy. Vince Neil was like gaining a lot of weight, and wasn't going to happen. And then this whole thing happened. Those tickets were really, really expensive. It was at the new Rams Stadium.
Oh, right.
So we bought the tickets in 2019 September for September 2020 show, and I've held on to them because they're so expensive, right?
Oh, wow.
But luckily, they are supposed to pick up the tour again, and they're supposed to be in LA September 4th, 2021 this year. So who knows the way these things look. That's a whole nother discussion that we can get.
Yes,
we probably shouldn't, because
it sounds to me from the bands you just mentioned that you're more of a metalhead. would you say?
The Cure and U2 are also a couple of my favorite bands.
Okay.
So I love all the K-rock stuff as well.
Okay.
I love the classic rock. Cheap Trick's one of my favorite bands. Led Zeppelin, Def Leppard, White Snake. Those are the
that's his mainstays though. Yeah.
I like Soundgarden, Nirvana, Alice in Chains. I mean, I really love the whole.
Wide.
Yeah, pretty wide.
I didn't hear any country bands there, but that's all right.
but I've written a couple of country songs just for being a goof.
Right. Well, going back to what we were sharing about, your you're going through an adventure in a way, right?
Yes.
In education, and now you're at a spot in 2021. You went through your credential program, you went back to college, and you went to UCLA, you went to Cal State Long Beach, got your credential. What about now in 2021? What's it look like? Are you substituting? How's that looking right now for the work situation?
So fortunately, I was able to find two substitute gigs for Irvine School District and Downey, as a matter of fact. Okay. So I logged pretty good times substituting. I really had a good time. It was K through 12. So as a substitute teacher is a different ball game, right? But the students dug me. I took my speaker. So for whatever age group, right, is
music always works.
Music always works, right? And for the up to fifth grade, so in middle school too a little bit, I went out and participated with them at a break and lunchtime. So I was playing handball and tetherball, and so I literally on about 4 or 5 campuses that I frequented, I became like a rock star. I mean, I would walk into the school in the morning. Hey, Mr. C, hi, how you doing? I have no idea who that. Are you substituting in my class today? Well, what's your teacher's name? So because I was out on the playground playing with these guys, they all got to know me, like all the levels, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody wanted Mr. C to come and substitute for their class. So that was good and bad, because elementary school teachers really are authoritarians. I mean, and I understand.
Oh, we're definitely editing that part out. All our friends are elementary school teachers. Vinny, before you dig yourself into a hole you can never get out of, I'm unclear about what's happening now for you, though. Are you
okay? So
are you online substituting?
No. So right before the pandemic started, I was at Downey, and that thing ended because of that. And I haven't done any teaching since that point. I've been working at Party City for like 16 years now, part-time. From the beginning of my schooling. Really good relationship with that company. Every boss I've had, they've let me do what I need to do for school, and I've done what I need to do for them there as a veteran, stalker and what a merchandiser. So it's afforded me some to stay afloat. Right, to stay afloat, because just like everybody else, the financial times are tough in this whole thing, and again, we won't get into the government stimulus and and your bills and the rent and all that kind of stuff. Those are all
but
all factors.
But when you're sharing, though, I mean, like for you to have to obviously your workplace has given you a lot of help and they've supported you. But who else have you had a mentor over these years, or somebody who supported you to go back to even go to when you needed to talk to somebody? Who would that be? Or if there was somebody, maybe there wasn't.
Sure. My mom and dad have been the kingpins of support, right? Because like a lot of people, I moved back to my parents' house, right, and live in the pool room. Made it turn into like a 1-room bedroom type of thing, because I couldn't do the rent no more. So when I started school, they helped me out in that first semester before I started getting into it, and then figured out financial aid and all those types of things. Because by the time I went to UCLA, they paid me, right? I went on a full grant. Okay. So that was really cool. So I don't have like behemoth school debt, right? It's not too bad. So my mom and dad really were there for that lifeline type of support. My girlfriend, her, Gigi.
Yes, Gigi.
We've been together for over 10 years now, and she was another fantastic support. We have a really great relationship, and so we just we work together really well. And she knows that the pathway I'm on. That I can speak to, like right now, this second. I go to EdJoin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with EdJoin.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
So I have 23 applications that I've saved on my wish list that I got to go start filling out. I just finished looking through the regional, things as you work on that thing. So most of them are substitute gigs. There's a couple of regular jobs. So I'm pretty sure out of 20 substitute gigs, I'm going to get a couple here or there. And so hopefully that'll be in the next, within the next month or what have you. I don't know. I haven't looked at the details in each one yet. I did my preliminary. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing the Zoom thing online from home, or if I'm going to be in a classroom. I need to, this is my first Zoom ever.
Oh, good practice here. Very
So
good.
yeah, it is a good practice because
This
if I'm
is
gonna have to
This is your first Zoom ever.
first Zoom ever.
Wow.
Wow. I think you did pretty well for your first
Yeah,
Zoom ever.
and you got on
And Vinny, I'm sorry you're going through this, but from hearing you talk, you're going to be okay.
Oh yeah.
You're going to get a job, and you're the kind of teacher I wished I had. History teacher. I had some good other. But in terms of history, I kind of wished I had you. So
yeah. By the end of his experience in my class, teaching I think you were teaching two classes. And I was hands off. You were grading, you were teaching.
Yeah, I was doing everything.
The kids looked to you, and I would sit back, and then you and I would have conversations.
Well, you did something. You were getting paid.
Yeah.
Did we at least take you to dinner? I don't think I even did that. I owe you.
You might have heard there.
He took you to one of those lunch trucks with the. He paid half for your garden.
Vinny, I owe you.
I know this guy.
Well, I'll tell you what Jake did. Jake was really sneaky. This is what he did. It was towards about maybe 2 weeks.
Wait a minute. My boss is listening to this.
So I was going to go in later that day, and he's like, hey, Vinny, I need you to go pick up some pizzas. Bring them to school. And I'm like, well, sure, all right. No problem. I'll go pick them up. I think they were paid for already, were they?
I hope so.
Probably not with this guy.
I hope so.
I think he paid for them already.
Yeah,
it was about like 8 or 10 pizzas.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so I show up, and you greet me up there in the front, and like I'm following you, and you have half, and I have half. And I'm following Jake into it's like a secondary, what is that room called? The media room or something?
Media center, yeah.
Media center at lunchtime. And I walk in, and there are all my students. And it was actually a surprise party for me.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
And I know I've had many, you're not many, but I've had 6 or 7 student teachers, and you're the only one we've ever done that for, just so you know.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
They kept their mouths shut really, really well. I walked in there, and everybody's cheered, and I'm looking all around, and I see the drinks, and I see everything, and I'm like, I started crying,
Wow.
right? Because it was so touching. It was unbelievable, and it was spearheaded by the young gentleman who had the pregnant girlfriend who said, I hate history, and I don't know why we have to study dead people. He's the one who spearheaded it, because I stuck up for him one day in class because they were teasing him about baby's mama, blah blah blah, and I said, we're going to have none of that in this classroom. I mean, I came down hard. No, we're going to have no teasing. You guys don't have any idea what it is to raise a kid. This is never going to happen again. And he really, I connected with him finally.
I don't think they did tease him after that. I think
They did that. Well, they didn't tease him after that. And he actually came to me and started, because he was, F student, but he actually started picking up his grade, and he didn't fail. He did not fail.
He was definitely behind, just because you could tell he'd had some tough times,
right?
And he was trying to catch up, and you definitely.
So that's like that's an experience that, like, come on. Yeah. I honestly, and I'm coming into this whole thing, right? I'm like completely removed from education. So like everything you guys know, everything everybody else knows, I don't know. So
I've stolen quite a few things from you, so you know.
I'm coming in with a brand new perspective, right? And my whole idea is like I want to be a different teacher than everybody else is, right? That's my personal thing. So coming into that was like, it's amazing.
Yeah. And as we're winding down here, Vincent, I want to ask you a question, because Ruben and I, we know people who are interested in, at least one person comes to mind right now, who's interested in going into education. Would you give them a recommendation to do that? Would you promote that? Or would you say, you know what, no, don't do that? What would you say to someone at your age as well, who'd say, hey, you know what, I want to teach? What would you tell that person?
That's a very good question at this point, because as I was leading into this thing, I knew that the baby boomers were all going to start retiring. And so there was going to be a huge gap for teachers, especially in California. Like a third of teachers are going to be retiring. So that was, okay, there's going to be a lot of teaching jobs, right? And then after this whole COVID thing kind of came along, and now that a lot of this stuff has moved like online, my feeling is like a lot of this stuff could be going towards online. And if you're a school district, or if you're the government and you want to save a lot of money and you don't want to pay teachers, and you want to, indoctrinate or educate whatever students across the nation, you could have them get online. I mean, I think it would be horrible and terrible and a tragedy. I think in classroom teaching is the only way to go. But a lot of people that are above our pay grade, right? That are thinking, I think they see things differently. So I would be very cautious entering this. I would still say go for it, but I would be very, very cautious and do a lot of research.
And I would add, I was going to say that I would add, do what you did, which is do the research, find the passion. That display.
Oh yeah.
And it, no matter what, you're gonna win
Yeah.
because you have all this knowledge. You're gonna do something with it. You know?
Right.
And I will say this too. Vinny doesn't stop learning. He's always telling me things he's reading, things he's listening to, and it just blows my mind. It encourages me, Vinny. Just so you know, I said, well, I gotta start, catching up to Vinny because he's way ahead of me. But it encourages me. I want somebody to be able to look up to in that area of continuing my education. I don't want to just like stop where I'm at. And it doesn't matter how old you are, right? Just keep learning. Right. And I think the kids benefit from it. As you know, you brought in a lot of your experience, a lot of the items you're reading, a lot of the books that they've probably never heard of some of these books. And I think that's just going to benefit the kids, period. So.
But one interesting thing about that is the downtime that I had. So I had the downtime when I was injured, and I poured into the research and studying. And then now during this COVID time, I've literally been following, I guess if you have to use the word politics, it's politics, but everything that's going on, I've been following everything in real time. And I searched the news. I continued reading. I've read some great books on, alternative history stuff, a little bit more of the stuff that we don't teach, right? That's out there. And we're talking scholarly works. It's not like, stuff that people are making up. There's so much information that's out there that is not within any kind of curriculum whatsoever, right? It's just the way things really are. Like when you talk about economics and Wall Street and all these different types of things that are going on, and then elections and everything, right? Everything in society is with this whole like basically cultural revolution going on, and all this fear being drummed up, and trying to pit black against white and Christian against Muslim and all these things that are going on. It's a tough time right now. But like I hear a lot of researchers that I listen to, and this is the greatest time to be alive in history because right now is when it's happening, right? It's gonna be. How are we gonna come out of this on the other side? Are we gonna come out of it on top, or is the state gonna, once again come out on top and insert their control? Which I don't know what you guys think about. I don't know what you think, Jake. I don't know what Ruben thinks about that, but there's a lot of things going on right now that.
I will just say this. I cut off the media for months, and I've never been happier. To me, getting into the podcast, getting into all the research of education has been so meaningful. I'm opening up the apps again, the Twitters, the Facebooks, and all that. But I look at it a little differently now. The anger isn't quite there as much. I'm sort of looking at it objectively and saying, interesting. I remember a professor saying something to me that kind of was, it always has followed me, a beloved professor I had. He says, I might not be able to change the world, but I could change at least my corner of it. And I think that's really been really useful to me, and it's less pressure. I don't have to worry about everything that's going on out there, but that's what I would say about that.
But listen, just for future
we
reference.
Do what we can do with our scare.
Oh yeah. But hey, with that, I just want to thank you for coming on and just joining us and being part of this. When we started this podcast, I was thinking to myself, who do I really want to have on? I said, I have to have Vinny on, because you're somebody who we had so many conversations about your experience at the college level, at getting your credential, student teaching, and then even afterwards, and we stayed in touch. And I've learned so much from you. It's funny because you think, you would learn from the master teacher. I think we were both definitely, it was reciprocal, right? We definitely learned from each other, and we worked off each other.
Absolutely.
And so I've enjoyed that partnership and that friendship, and I hope we have you on again soon, brother.
I would love to be on. I could talk forever on these topics. You know what I mean? Ruben, I really admire you, dude. I don't know you, but just from the things you said and what have you, and picking up your vibe, I dig you, man. I dig you.
I love him like a brother.
I'll tell you right now that the line of admiration is very small, but I appreciate his words.
Well, with that, we're going to take off. Ruben, where do they press? Do they press a button?
It's all there.
It's all there? Okay. Well, thank you for joining us this evening for Pod and Deliver, and we'll catch you soon.
Thank you for having me, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Adios.